Listen, I'm not at the crib today. I'm not in the studio today, but definitely couldn't go ahead and miss an opportunity to go ahead and hang out with you guys. The New York Jets just lost to the Buffalo Bills. Kind of frustrating. I think that game kind of showed us that this team is going to consistently be in their own way. We've got to find a way for these guys to go ahead and get better. But just as we gave up on this team last night, the Jets fan base, I jumped on Twitter, started talking about mock drafts. Just when we thought we were out, man, these dudes pull us back in. Davante Adams is officially a New York Jet. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a renaissance,
Congratulations, brother. Hey.
And here we go. Listen, as you can tell, I'm not at the house. I'm currently right now in California, doing some recruiting for work. But I just felt like there's just way too much going on to where I could not miss the opportunity to just chop it up and talk. I mean, let's be honest, man. Talk Jets football. I think the majority of us last night tapped out. I ain't gonna lie to you. If you tapped out, I get it. It makes sense. The Jets just continue to find ways, man. They just continue to find ways to lose in spectacular fashion. Last night, I think the New York Jets should have won that game. I think the majority will tell you that they should have won that game, but they lost. Gave it up. Gave it to the freaking Buffalo Bills. An opportunity for us to legitimately go ahead and lead the division at 3-3, gone. Just the opportunity missed, beyond frustrating. It is what it is. At the end of the day, things got better today. So here I am. I'm on the plane flying in right now from Texas to California. And I get a phantom message talking about, the Jets just traded for Davante Adams. And I didn't know if this was true or not. I don't pay for freaking internet on these flights. I tend to watch a movie because I hate flying, just so I can go ahead and kind of just drown out all the noise. But anyway, once I got that, I tried to respond back to the message, and of course, it couldn't go through. So like, obviously, it was one of those random things where the I just happened to get signal wherever I got signal at in the air. The message came through. So now I'm sitting there on this airplane with another freaking 2.5 hours of flight time. There's no damn way. I'm not. I can't. I gotta know. So I paid for freaking internet on the Southwest flight. Yep. I literally said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm paying for the internet. Paid for the internet and got the news. The New York Jets brought in the one and only. Oh man, Devontae Adams. That's right. The New York Jets brought in Davante freaking Adams into the building. Of course, we get an opportunity to jump on Pat McAfee show, and we get blessed with these two smiling faces. The Jets got a great wide receiver, a great wide receiver. So I wanted to go ahead and pretty much make this an episode to kind of get a vibe, man, of what you guys are thinking as Jets fans. I know, again, the majority of us last night called it a day. Called it a day. I got Marcus in the back. I think he just signed in. Marcus, give me a thumbs up when you're ready, man. Okay, perfect. So we got Marcus in the back. I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on screen, man. We're gonna go ahead and talk. We're gonna talk about the New York Jets. We're 2-4. I don't know if the AFC East is something that I can honestly sit here and tell you that is feasible. I think the Buffalo Bills, even when we got them against the ropes last night, Josh Allen is a top three quarterback in the NFL at worst. I'm putting him not too far behind Patrick Mahomes personally. I know someone put Lamar Jackson there, so let the interchangeable at 2-3. Josh Allen's he's real, man. That dude balls. Michael Clemens, I think, is a moron. Every single person knew that Josh Allen was going to keep the ball and potentially run to get to the first, whatever. Just keep the ball in his hands. You know what I'm saying? To go ahead and run the clock out. Michael Clemens was the only person I believe that either didn't realize that or was incapable of containing the edge and keeping him in the pocket, man. It's brutal when you think about it, man. Missed field goals, dropped touchdown passes, but as bad as that was, the New York Jets lose to the Buffalo Bills by 3. The New York Jets literally have lost their last 3 games by 1 possession. The only team that I would sit here and tell you really beat the New York Jets so far this season, and you're going to think I'm delusional or I'm just being a homer, is the 49ers. I think that's the only game where the New York Jets literally got beat playing NFL football. The other 3 losses were self-inflicted wounds, and the New York Jets wound up catching L's. And they didn't. I'll say this: the opponents didn't win those games, but the Jets lost those games. And if you watch the games or if you know football, you know what that means. The Jets lost those games, vice the opponents won those games. The 49ers, oh, they won that game. They beat us. They won the game. No offense or buts. But the other 3 losses, Jets are at 2-4 right now. 3 of those losses, self-inflicted wounds. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I think if we had Davante Adams earlier, that the Jets right now are 4-2. At worst, they're 3-3 on top of the division. But I digress. We got my boy Marcus in the back. Marcus, what's up, man? How you
Hey,
living, bro?
Gunny, what's up, man? I'm great, man. Long time no see.
It's been a minute, man. It's been a minute, man. Did you get the jersey?
I did, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. It's gonna go in the collection, and I'm a big Garrett Wilson fan, so hopefully this Devontae Adams thing it works out for him because we definitely need to get the defense off of him. Put another threat on the other side that can definitely be, that deep threat. A muscle wide receiver threat that
Yep.
will space out and get Garrett some more looks and I think it's actually going to work out pretty good. I'm kind of torn, I think the Jets needed some other things, but I'm never going to shy away and say that, hey, not getting great offensive players is not a good look.
Yeah, no, that's insane, right? You see Roger with a comment talking about Gunny. Hate to say it, man, but I saw Monday Night Football game, same old Jets winning the whole time. I felt it in my 57 years of being a Jets fan. So, and you know what's crazy? Like, I kid you not, I think the moment we missed that first field goal, I
Yeah.
had that feeling in my chest as a Jets fan. And I ain't been riding as long as Roger has, man. So, hey, Roger, more power to you, bro, because that's a lot of heartbreak you've had to endure as a fan of this team. But I knew after we missed the first field goal, I was like, oh my God, if this game gets put on the leg of Greg, I don't know if we're going to win this game. And I remember the wife was looking at me like, it's early in the game, relax. And I'm like, I'm telling you, this team has a way of making that miss come back and kick us in the ass. And sure enough, man, Greg winds up missing another one. Tyron Smith decides to hold. It was a ticky tacky hold, but whatever. Hold on the player that had nothing to do with the play. Wind up costing us a touchdown with Braylon Allen. Uh, Mike Williams with the miscommunication or not running the red line like Aaron said. I don't know, man. It just seemed like the moment we missed that field goal, it started a cycle of events. Now, I thought the Hail Mary, man, I thought like that was going to be the momentum shifter, like get us back on track, readjust some things. I was like, man, Rodgers just freaking nailed a 60-yard freaking Hail Mary. That was bonkers. But like Roger said, man, same old Jets. I think when it got down to like that last 4 minutes, 5 minutes of the game, I just sat there and I thought to myself, yep, we're gonna lose this game, and it's gonna hurt because we lost this game again of self-inflicted wounds. So, what was going through your mindset, man, while you were watching this game and hoping the Jets could go ahead and pull this thing off?
So at one point, I thought to myself, the game was getting kind of comical with all the flags that were getting thrown. I thought that it was real ticky tacky fouls that were getting, penalties that were getting thrown. I just never seen flags being thrown so late,
Yeah,
when they try to see what the outcome of the play is before they're actually going to make that decision. It kind of got comical. I mean, over 200 yards and penalties is just crazy, and on both sides of the ball,
yeah,
so
yeah,
and, and being a Jets fan, seeing a lot of games in that stadium, knowing that you really don't want to rely on the field goal if you don't have to. You got to put some
yeah,
points on the board, by scoring touchdowns. I think, the 4 or 5 times we were in the red zone, we got nothing, and the one touchdown we had was on the Hail Mary. So, I mean, The offense looked better. I like the way that we were moving the ball, but it just seemed like we're having a hard time trying to figure out how to punch it into the end zone, and that just kind of seems to be our Achilles heel right now.
Yeah, I think one thing we can all agree on is we got positive vibes watching the Downing run offense. I mean, from the very beginning of the game, it felt different. There were up tempo. They saw a lot of motion being utilized. That they moved the ball down the field like almost instantaneously, no issues whatsoever. That was promising. That was promising. That touchdown pass from Rodgers to Garrett Wilson on the back of the end zone, just beautiful stuff. You saw an offense that in 5 days almost re-identified themselves because I saw a statistic earlier that stated that they used motion adjustments in the play calling about 70% of the time last night, which was
Hmm.
the fourth highest of the weekend. Whereas we've notoriously kind of averaged about 40%, which was literally bottom five, bottom 10 in the NFL. So it's definitely one of those things where Downing came out with the game plan. I guess he must have sat down with Rodgers because we all know that Rodgers has notoriously not been a fan of motion. And he told him, man, like, hey, dog, you're freaking 40 years old now. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and try to find you some easy ones, man. Motion is there to make it easier on you, make it easier on the offense to go ahead and confuse the defense. So let's go ahead and get you some easy ones. And Rodgers, I think, had his best game of the year. I know he
Yeah.
falls short of his 300-yard game because you keep hearing all the media members talking about like, oh, he hasn't thrown for 300 yards in 28 freaking games, blah blah, because apparently that matters so much to them. Honestly, I don't think it matters. I don't care if he throws for 300 yards. I'd rather him throw for 150 and three touchdowns, four touchdowns. I don't care. Win the game.
Hmm.
But just to shut up the media that just hate Rodgers to hate on Rodgers, I was really hoping he got his 300 yards last night, just so they can
Yeah.
just finally shut the hell up. He got it now. Can you move on to something else to hate on about the dude? But again, offense looked good last night. Offense looked really good last night. Defense, man. How did you feel about the defense last night performance?
Um, I know I've texted you offline a couple of times watching these games,
Yeah,
and I feel like our defensive front isn't just what we thought it was gonna be. And I know with Mosley going out, kind of made it a little harder to stop the run, but we're just getting ran over. Now, I will say this: out of the last two games, I think both teams only scored 3 points in that second half. I
facts.
might be mistaken. So
No, no,
we
you're
make
correct.
the
You're
we,
correct.
we make the adjustments when we come out of the locker room, but it's really tough in the NFL to play from behind. And I feel like when we fall behind and we're getting ran over and that defense is getting bullied, I don't know what happens at halftime. We kind of turn things around, but I think that mentality needs to come and start off in the beginning of the game rather than, trying to play catch up. It's been the success of these teams that can really run the ball, have a really good offensive line that they just discombobulate us somehow or another. They set up the right blocks, and we just can't stop the run.
Yeah, it is frustrating because I think you honed in on a very key point, right? You start off and they're getting beat up, they're getting manhandled, but then they come out in the second half like they figured it out. I don't understand why we can't have that same level of energy from jump because
Yeah.
the defense starts off with it in the second half. Like again, another opportunity for the defense to show out, kind of really earn that moniker of being an elite defense. I think what it boils down to, man, I don't know if we can really kind of hold that as being the truth anymore about our defense. I don't know if it's an elite defense. I think it's a good defense. I think it's a great defense, but we don't get the turnovers enough. Right now, we're struggling to get to the quarterback. Even when we got to Josh Allen, we couldn't wrap up and bring him down to the ground, which was extremely frustrating because there was several times where they created pressure and they got in the backfield, but they couldn't bring the dude down. I,
Yeah.
I look at this whole situation right now, and I've been very adamant about this whole Hassan Reddick situation. Like, I think that he's hiding something in terms of what he brings to the table. I think he's banking on trying to get the bag off of his past resume. I think that he knows he probably doesn't have the motor or ability to do what he was doing when he was younger. He's about to be 30 years old, and he's a freaking speed rusher. Though that speed goes pretty fast. I think Tyreek Hill is the exception, not the rule, when it comes to an older player who depends on their speed to still have it in their 30s. Hassan Reddick to me right now, though, I think at this point we have no choice. If we're serious about potentially, God, I hate saying this, man, because I really don't want to go ahead and give this dude more money than just for the season. But the loss of JJ hurt us. I think JJ last night would have been the game changer for us to go ahead and win that game on defense. JJ has notoriously figured out how to go ahead and not only contain Josh Allen, but he has chased him down numerous times. He's been
Yeah.
consistently in his face. It's been a nightmare for Josh Allen. Not having him out there on the field last night, you saw a level of comfort of Josh Allen back there. Even when he got pressured, he didn't look like he was under pressure. The dude looked calm and collected. A guy like JJ, who's got the speed, who's got the length, who's got the size, as well as Josh Allen, I think is why he gets rattled, because that's pound for pound right there when it
Yeah.
comes to them going back and forth. So I really missed Jermaine Johnson last night, man. I'm glad to see his recovery is going very, very well. I feel like Quentin Williams has been a ghost. We haven't really seen much of Quentin Williams. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Will
Mm-hmm.
McDonald again coming up with another sack last night, a sack fumble actually.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, we could even land on the freaking fumble that bounced our way twice. And this is what I'm talking about. I, I feel like we can't call this team an elite team when things like that, you can't make those kind of plays, man. The defense has been frustrating. And it sucks to say that because, like you said, they came out in the second half and then they held this Bills offense to 3 points. But man, those first 20 points, man, you gave those guys a groove, kind of put us in a bit of a hole. Complimentary football. I feel like yesterday we saw the offense play relatively well. Of course, the penalties took away points. And of course, Greg the Leg. I'm sorry, no, let me rephrase that. He's no longer Greg the Leg. Greg, I'm sorry, Mr. Zerline. I won't even call him
Mr.
Greg because we ain't cool.
Mr.
He and I ain't
Zerline.
cool. So Mr. Zerline can't do his freaking job, man. A 34 yarder and a 42 yarder, man. Those are chip shot field goals. You're supposed to make those. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's been very, very inconsistent so far this year. And this is what sucks about it, man. I think we came into this season, we won 7 games last year with Zach Wilson. We thought, all right, the offensive line's going to be better. The quarterback's going to be better. The running back room got better. We're going to be better on offense. But you can tell the offense hasn't figured it out yet. A lot of rust. A lot of it was the bad play calling, compliments of Hackett. Now I think with freaking we're going to see some change. We saw changes last night, but again, there was still rust there. If those guys getting on the same page, Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, that's heating up. That's heating up, and this is what we're
Yeah.
kind of hoping for. Now you get Garrett Wilson on the same page with Rodgers, Alan Lazard on the same page with Rodgers, and you bring in Davante Adams as well, right? So 3 guys potentially that's going to be on that same page with Rodgers. I think is going to be a lot to ask for defenses to be able to go ahead and cover them all. Lazard, again, I think we can all sit back and think to ourselves, I don't know how, but somehow, some way, this dude is leading the league right now in touchdown receptions, which is ridiculous, kind of disgusting if you really think about it. He made a catch last night that I still don't know, like how he. I watched it in slow motion. I don't know how he made that catch where it's him up in the middle of the field. Rogers like right by the hip of the defender. Lazard catches it, but the dude to drop a screen pass thrown his way. It doesn't make any sense to me. His inconsistency is disturbing to say the least, but he's got the rapport with Rodgers. Now you've got the level of the rapport with Rodgers. And I don't know if you can say Garrett Wilson is at the level of a Devontae Adams, at least not yet. But I know Devontae Adams is at the same rapport with freaking Allen Lazard. Some would even say more. So you get
Yeah.
that talent matchup. And I know a lot of people are going to say, like, oh, it's going to be a problem because the offensive line. In all actuality, the offensive line didn't play bad last night. When you watch the game again, and let me know what you think about the offensive line. I know it's been a big issue. A lot of people are talking about it, but 3 sacks last night. 2 of them were coverage sacks. So you get a third guy like a guy like Devontae Adams, that might definitely help alleviate some of those coverage sacks. And I think why we're looking at it like, as it was a big deal is because of how hard Aaron Rodgers got hit. I think that's why we've seen some issues. What do you think about the offensive line?
Yeah, I think this offense from from what they've showed, the easiest way to run this is just to get the ball out of Rodgers' hands really quick, right? So there's no in order to set up the big play, right, you got to set up the small plays. You got to set up the run. You got to be able to bring that line up, and then you got to take advantage of one-on-one on the outside, right, when they're trying to stuff the line. I think, and I was coming into this season thinking, we got enough playmakers, we got enough people that can get the ball in space, right? Dump it off, play that Tom Brady type of dink and dunk football. Let them work those 10 yards, those 15 yarders, those 8 yarders, setting up smaller second and twos, But we just keep kind of falling behind the stick. So, you know, it seems like the longer Rodgers is back there holding the ball, our line is not going to hold up for great pass protection, right? But when he gets the ball out in less than, 2 seconds, 1.7 seconds, whatever that situation is, where we're hitting people on the slants, we're hitting, the screenplays, that's the kind of stuff that I want to see. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers having to run for his life back there. There's no reason to, right? We got to get the ball into the playmakers' hands. We got to be able to get them in space, and it's going to be the shorter routes to be able to set up the easier second downs, third downs, and getting moving the chains. Right now, I think we're just trying to bite off too much big chunk plays at the beginning of these first and second downs that is just causing us to really not play great offensive football. So hopefully that changes. It looked like it was last night with the plays that were being called. But as far as the offensive line goes, they're kind of on and off, man. They can either, you know, run block if they want to, or they can, let everybody come into the backfield when they want to. And it's just Brees is having a hard time getting off because we really don't have any run blocking like we need, and it's when you see that come in and, when I got my son who's 14 years old that can tell me the plays that are being called, that's a problem.
Yeah. I'm starting to wonder if it's time to see Olu Fashanu at left tackle. Um,
Yeah.
maybe I'm just in my feelings right now, but you're shaking your head, so it looks like that's a yes. I feel like we invested, what I'm saying, this high capital in bringing him in, right? And I'll sit here and you know what? I think never thought I'd be saying this, but I think having a Brock Bowers on this roster right now, with what I've seen him do for no namers at the quarterback position for Oakland,
Yeah.
I think could have been very impactful for this team. I think if you were going to stick with Tyron Smith and Olu wasn't going to get these snaps, Brock Bowers right now, though what his kid has been disgusting, would literally right now possibly we could have won. I think he's good for one more game. I believe right now Brock Bowers would have been good for us to have at least one more W on the stat sheet right now if he was a New York Jet. So listen, Bowers boys, I was wrong about that one. I was wrong. I thought the kid, just took advantage of his size and speed comparisons when it came to the players he matched up against. I thought him being a 6'2" tight end meant he was going to be more of a fullback build, and we wouldn't know what to do with him freaking offensively, et cetera, et cetera. But if the Raiders could figure out how to use that kid, I don't see how Hackett would not have, and now specifically Downing. I think I was wrong about Brock Bowers because watching that dude play with the Raiders, I believe wholeheartedly he would have been good for one more win. Right now, right now we'd be 3-3 if we had
Yeah.
freaking a guy like freaking Brock Bowers, man. So he's not on the team. We got Olu, and I think like Tyron, I don't know what's wrong with him, man. All these vet rest days, he's resting on Sundays. So why are we resting him in practice? I think the fact that he hasn't gotten those reps in, you're starting to see it. He's getting beat like a drum by anybody with even marginal ability of speed rushing. Dudes just get around him like he's not even there. I saw somebody post a picture of freaking Makai Becton talking about like Tyron Smith 2024 on the New York Jets, and I'm like, oh gosh, that's gross. But it's what it's looked like. It's what it's looked like, man. How do you feel about maybe making that move, man? I think Olu Fashanu possibly right now could give us a better product. It can't be worse, in my opinion. It can't be worse, right? Like Olu was a great pass protector in college, very technically sound. He's had a great freaking camp. He did really good in the preseason. Now he struggled as a left tackle playing right tackle for us when freaking Morgan Moses was out. But he's a natural left tackle, man. I think it's time we possibly have to put him in.
Yeah, I think the Jets always have a problem with the offensive line and always switching up players from going out of their natural positions and putting them somewhere else, trying to get them to kind of gel with what they need rather than what their abilities are. I think we've always struggled with that. At the end of the day, man, the way that these defenses are playing nowadays, we're seeing a lot more interceptions. We're seeing a lot more defensive disguises. It's a defensive game out there right now. They're making it harder for receivers, or the refs are making it harder for just everybody in general in the game. Offensive linemen, they are what they are, man. You got 3 seconds to hold something up. That can't be that hard when you got somebody that can actually throw the ball and get it out of his hands. I don't really have no sympathy for our linemen. I think they just need to do better. I think they need to be better. I think they can be better. But I think we need to incorporate some different stuff. I think we really need to start looking at, some tight end play, really kind of spreading the ball out. Maybe running, a three wide receiver set, spreading out the defense a little bit, trying to just do some different things, man, that will buy Rodgers time. He doesn't need a whole hell of a lot of time. He just needs a little bit of time. And sometimes it just seems like we can't get it to him, and he's taking some hard hits, man. So I'm really concerned about him really holding up for the entire season. Not to mention if things go our way and we make the postseason, I'm really concerned because you really can't take a couple more hits like that, without, him having to shut it down because he's getting blindsided, especially on that left side.
Yeah, listen, I look at how he's been hit, man, and I clinch up every single time. It never fails. He gets hit, and immediately I'm like, God, is he gonna get up? The dude is 40 years old, and somehow, some way, man, like yeah, he's getting up. You know what I'm saying? Like he's getting up. I'm getting AirPod feedback. Hold on 1 second. Let me go ahead and take care of this. I think that means it can't do. All right, that should fix the feedback issue. Let me know if you're still getting that, Dark Soldier. Didn't drop that. All right.
Sound like we got like a little, you know,
Little feedback.
some little demon voice coming in.
Yeah, I'm rocking the AirPods right now. I mean, I was thinking about utilizing the microphone on the iPad, because apparently it's pretty good. But when I was working through it earlier on today, it wasn't even registering through the system. So I don't know. How's that sound? Is anybody? Oh, only when I'm unmuted? Okay, so is it still y'all still getting feedback right now? It says
Yeah,
he's saying crazy. So you're still hearing it too?
yeah,
Um uh hate that. I hate when my sound is not, and this is what I thought to myself, maybe I shouldn't, but all right. Video, audio, then let me try this. No. How about now? Is that better?
that's better.
Okay. It just means I gotta take off the emulation because these things apparently do it by themselves.
You
Um
know what I've been thinking, Gunny, is
yeah.
they said it last night. Xavier Gibson looks like Aaron Rodgers is looking for this kid. What are your thoughts on that with him coming in and actually, maybe playing a little bit of slot or, trying to catch something, how, they put him in motion, give the guy, the ball, let him work in some space. You know, Obviously he may have made an impression on Rodgers because it looks like, Rodgers is trying to get him in that lineup.
So my thoughts on Gibson, man, is I he hasn't shown us a lot, right? In terms of in-game play. And I think if I'm being honest, man, like last year we loved him because he won us that Buffalo Bills game. We got a bit of nostalgia and a bit of a high from that. And I think we all kind of fell in love with the kid. I've got to the point now, man, where I'm kind of annoyed. I want to know why they made such a big deal about bringing in a guy like Malachi Corley, a dude that I loved. I thought he was a steal for us to go ahead and grab. A guy that's that physical, that he's able to go ahead and he's literally named the Yak King for crying out loud. And we found no way to utilize this dude over Gibson. And again, I see Rodgers looking that way because Rodgers does like to go ahead and operate with a slot receiver. Like, again, Randall Cobb like I think is what Gibson probably reminds him like. But man, I, for some reason or the other, man, like it's just not there. It's not connecting. And the couple of times he did go to Gibson that I could see, it wasn't even close. I didn't know if it was because there was miscommunication on Rodgers' part, but I'm going to go. It's probably because Gibson was not what he was supposed to be. I think for me, man, I'm over the Gibson experiment. I just am. I think right now, even if Malachi Forty doesn't know the complement of the full freaking route tree, I don't care. Find a way to get this ball in this kid's hand, man. He was called the Yak King in college. Like literally, he had the third most freaking yards after catch in all of college football after Brock Bowers and Roma Dunze. What are we doing? Like, how can we not find a reason to get this dude in? So, um, Gibson was a fun story, man. It was fun last year. Undrafted guy, made the team, got that freaking touchdown run to beat the Buffalo Bills in the season opener last year. That's it. He's been ghost since. So I think we got to go ahead and get real about the fact that maybe the kid just really isn't that good. And Rodgers has looked his way because again, he wants to go to that dude that gives him that saying the Randall Cobb type of feel, but the kid just really isn't that good. And what you're seeing that because oftentimes he's not where he's supposed to be. I'm going to go with that. Rodgers is expecting him to be somewhere and he's not there. He I'm ready to see Malachi Corley. I'm over the Gibson experiment. I just want to win games, and I think guys like Corley um, definitely give us a better option to do that or way to do that. So I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I think I'm over the Gibson experiment personally.
Well, don't be surprised if you see Mike Williams getting his walking papers pretty soon.
I mean, nah. So okay, we brought in freaking Davante Adams, right? So talking about the offense, talking about the wide receivers, we brought in this freaking this wonderful freaking wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? 31-year-old Davante Adams I mean, he was the 99 club wide receiver just a couple of years ago. This is a guy that I people are going to tell you because now that he's a Jet, he's washed because that's just how it works, right? Once they become a Jet, they're automatically washed. He can still play ball. Devontae Adams is still very, very good. The
Oh,
dude
for
was
sure.
never known to be as a burner or anything like that. He was always that cerebral player that has elite route running, sure hands, and him and Aaron Rodgers literally have a telepathic connection that you really can't explain.
Hmm.
How do you feel about the Jets bringing in Devontae Adams, and do you think he moves the needle for us in terms of what we accomplished this season?
Yeah, I think anybody that's a playmaker like that, right? Let's just say, even if he's lost a step, um, as a defensive coordinator, you still got to account for him. So that's what makes it tough, right? Because now you can split the field. You have your wide receiver 1A and really a wide receiver 1B, if you really want to put it that way, where both of them can be a threat to be able to help each other, right? Get the looks that defenses are going to have to pick their poison. Because with a lot of these zones that these defenses are playing now, there's a lot of ways that what Garrett Wilson hasn't figured out is where to find the pocket of some of these zones and sit rather than continuing to try to run his route. And that's where the miscommunication was. Devontae Adams, you don't have to teach that with him, right? He knows where to go, where the defense is going to be. He knows where to sit, and that ball is going to find him. Big, physical, throw it in traffic, he'll get it. So that's what we've been lacking. We've been lacking that smart route runner. Lazard seems to be it, but he's just got hands of bricks. So, that chemistry between Lazard and between Rodgers, Lazard can find the soft spots in the defense, but sometimes he just can't catch the damn ball. Now,
Yep.
when you got Devontae Adams, that's going to be able to find those little pockets in that defense and where Rodgers expects him to be because he's the smart quarterback that's going to put it where it needs to be. The receiver just has to get there, turn around, know that your route is over because the defense is shifting, turn, ball might be there already. That's what Garrett Wilson doesn't have yet, and he'll get that as they get on the same page. Davante Adams, you don't have to teach that. So it's gonna be a better offense because you can't get worse with Adams. You know what I mean? It's just another option.
Yeah, nah. Listen, the Davante Adams news, I think put a smile on most Jets faces this morning. I think the majority of us, after watching that game last night, we realized this team is it's going to be their worst enemy. They're literally going to get in their own way every opportunity that they get, and we witnessed it now in three losses, three straight losses. We watched this team lose because of the New York Jets, not because of the opponent, not because of
Yeah,
the Buffalo Bills, not because of the Vikings, not because of the Broncos, because of the New York Jets. They've lost these games. And I'll die on this hill. The New York Jets this year should be 4-1 because the only game they got beat in was against the 49ers. That was the only game they got freaking beat in. Like the other three games that they've lost, yes, I get it. The teams on the stat sheet's going to say the Buffalo Bills, Broncos, and Vikings got dubs, but the Jets lost those games. And it's concerning because you're like, man, like what more can they do? You bring in a guy like Davante Adams, and it sounds messed up, but man, maybe he tries to dummy proof, you know what I'm saying, this process for us. Maybe he alleviates some of the tripping over our own feet when it comes to making these plays. I believe wholeheartedly if we had Davante Adams here last night, we win that game. I don't doubt it without a second. I think Davante Adams wins that game for us last year, and he would have come up big on a couple of catches. I think
yeah,
he wins the game against the Vikings. I really believe Davante Adams could have won that game for us. And call me a homer, but I think we could have beat the Broncos had he been here as well. At worst, the New York Jets are 3-3 today. I think at best we're 4-2. Let's
yeah,
just say we drop one of those games just because you know what I'm saying things do happen, right? It is football. 4-2 is where the Jets should be right now. Instead, we're 2-4. Now
yeah,
it's not too late. Now, I'll say this. I don't believe we're going to be able to catch the Buffalo Bills in terms of taking the AFC East. I think losing to them last night effectively put us in an incredibly difficult position to catch those guys. The Miami Dolphins right now are 2-3. They play against, I think it's the Colts this weekend. Yes, the
yeah.
Colts this weekend. They've got their own issues going on right now, man. I think Isaiah Wynn was just announced that he won't be available to play, although they were expecting him to come back. Like they're banged up. Uh, the Tua situation seems very weird. They're saying that he comes off of IR, but they're not going to dictate whether when he's going to be able to play again. I thought that was kind of a weird press conference from McDaniel. So right now it looks like it's gonna be Jets or Bills to win the AFC East. Now the Bills have a slightly tougher schedule than we've got. But if we're
Hmm.
being honest, man, they got the best quarterback in the division right now. And he's playing good ball. He's playing good ball. I think personally, the Devontae Adams addition brings us back into the conversation of making the playoffs, but in the sense of a wild card. I
Yeah.
think becoming the AFC East champions is going to be a big ask, especially because I watched this team just lose three games where they should have won it, but they got in their own way. I don't know if Devontae Adams can alleviate all of those issues. Maybe he comes in there and his presence and what the Aaron Rodgers mindset. I don't know. Maybe he's able to go ahead and be the other vocal point to Aaron Rodgers is him and it's A-Rod, two guys who elite first team all pros have been at the top of the game in this league at their positions. Maybe that helps, right? Maybe it wakens these guys up. But for me, I was looking at mock drafts last night, and then this morning, I'm not looking at mock drafts. I'm looking at like, all right, what road to getting into the wild card? And if you look at the schedule, the wild card is very, very much feasible. What do you think about the Jets potentially still making the playoffs this year?
Uh, Listen, call me call me extremely optimistic, but I feel like we could still win the AFC East, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
I say that because let's not forget, right? Buffalo scrambled. They know that their window of winning is closing as well, right? For whatever
Mhm.
they have going on over there. They brought in Amari Cooper. I believe that deal was done,
Yeah, they got that today.
right? So they went ahead and signed a wide receiver. So it looked like after seeing what transpired last night, let's not act like Buffalo's not a great team, right? Jets, for what they did to put this all together within 5 days and put a plan to come in, play Buffalo, hold them to 3 points in the second half, make the game extremely tight, put the game in the referee's hands, if you really want to
Mhm.
say it like that. Um, I would say, hold on, baby. I'll be right there. Good night. I would say the Vikings are a great team. We took that loss. Again, held them to 3 points in the second half, right?
That's
So the two teams that we lost to and ended up losing by one possession, those are playoff bound teams. We know they're going to be there, right? At some shape or form. The Jets, with this Davante Adams move, I feel like they still have a chance,
Mhm.
but they got to play perfect football, right? And getting a wild card spot, if that's the worst case scenario for us, if we play good football from here on out, and let's just say the Buffalo Bills fold because for whatever reason Josh Allen comes back and he starts making bonehead plays because now he got Amari Cooper. Now he's forcing the ball, throwing interceptions like he normally always does.
that's a good
There
point.
could be some issues there, right?
Yeah.
Let's not act like Buffalo is steamrolling people, right? They got problems
Nah.
themselves.
That's
So,
facts.
with us, I really feel like we needed that game last night to just put a stamp on the AFC East is ours. But I feel like the biggest move, the biggest splash to say, hey, we're still looking for a playoff, right? And we're still not dumping this season, right? We still feel the time is now. They went out, they did what they had to do. Now they just got to put it together. And I feel like, you know, with them having some time to put the playbook together, get everybody up to speed, get the new coaches involved in where they need to be. I mean, they did it on a quick turnaround, man. It's not an
That's
easy
facts.
task.
You're right.
So give them a little time to catch that stride. If they go ahead and they win this next game, they put it together. They're riding a high. They come in, they win another one. That's a different division look now. So I'm still optimistic that playoffs we're bound for that. I think we can win the AFC East. We got to play perfect football in order to do it. We probably can't drop more than two or three more games. But worst case scenario, if that happens, we should see a wild card and postseason. Man, it's all about just getting in.
That's facts, man. So once you're in, man, it's all about getting hot, right? Like if we're getting hot, you know what I'm saying, at the right time going into the postseason. I'm one of those guys, man. I don't like the bye. I don't like when you got to do the freaking first week buys, especially if you're a hot team coming into the playoffs. I think you need to keep riding that momentum.
Yeah,
Um, Maybe that's our story, right? I mean, you're right. The New York Jets have gone toe to toe with an undefeated Vikings team, toe to toe with the Buffalo Bills team that people are saying is definitely a playoff caliber team, and we can't argue that they are, right?
hmm
The only outlier was again losing to the Broncos, but even their defense has been top three in the league right now, so they've been
top three.
putting a lot of teams up. So you got to look at it in that capacity and think to yourself, okay, cool. Now looking at the rest of our schedule, there's no defense left on our schedule that's in the top 10. Like the rest of the games we play, we don't have a defense we got to fish off against us in the top 10.
Yeah,
Josh Allen is a freak. I don't. You're not going to face the top three quarterback again until we play again. Josh Allen. So I think Geno Smith would be the next toughest quarterback. Maybe Matthew Stafford, depending on where he's currently at, right? But you're looking at like the Jaguars, Miami Dolphins. If Tua plays, if he doesn't play, I don't know. Tua didn't look good in the beginning of the year either when he was playing. So it's not as if like Tua's going to be able to ride a hot hand. Not to mention he's going to get to play in the cold. So he doesn't do well in November and December. So I look at the schedule, man, and you're right. It's still very feasible that we can win the division, but now I think we need help. We're going to need help because the Buffalo Bills have to take some losses that they shouldn't take. And their coaching staff isn't like the most elite coaching staff. You know what I'm saying? Like they've made some knucklehead moves over the last couple of weeks. So it's feasible. I think the Amari Cooper edition, man, I saw that and I was like, damn it, man. Y'all couldn't just, why? Somebody, why did the Chiefs go after Cooper? I was expecting the Chiefs to go get Cooper. So that kind of sucks, man, because Amari Cooper, I think he's still a stud. That dude is probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. I don't know why he gets so much hate, but that dude's a perennial 1,000-yard wide receiver. He doesn't have a lot of drops with some short hands, great route runner. And he's like, you know what I'm saying, a little mini Davante, really, if you really look at it. Like those two, in terms of skill set, is very similar, only Davante does it at an elite level, while I would say Amari does it at a great level. But man, win the AFC East. Now you think that the Jets can still pull that off?
I think so. I think so. It's just gonna come down, man, to can we put points on the board? It's just we have the pieces. We're not scoring and we're not capitalizing, right? We're walking away in the red zone, relying on 3 points. And I feel
Yep.
like that mentality for the Jets is it's always been like that, right? It's always been like, hey, we're just happy to put three on the board, instead of actually punching this into the end zone and taking that chance. And we just got to snap that, right? And that's what we thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be able to do. But he's struggling to put the ball in the end zone, man. And and I saw a comment come up, but yeah, right there with the Braylon Allen deal.
Yeah,
I definitely would like to see that boy definitely eat some more.
same
I
here.
don't mind taking a couple of touches away from Brees because keeping him, healthy all through the game. You look at Detroit and you look at that two-headed monster they got in the backfield with
Yep.
Montgomery and Gibbs. You got the same thing right there with Allen and Hall. So at the end of the day, they got to figure that out, right? They just can't keep relying on Brees Hall, Brees Hall, Brees Hall. They got to bring that thunder in every now and then, wear that defensive line out, and then put the lightning in when them boys are tired in the third, and Brees is just going to work, But they got to find a way to give Braylon Allen the ball. He's a stud. Every time he gets the ball, he's a walking 4 yards. I mean, that boy will just fall on 3 yards. You know what I mean? So he's somebody that they definitely got to figure out how to utilize. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I really like them utilizing him more, even if he gets the first couple of touches, and then you bring in Brees Hall like you would bring in Jameer Gibbs after Montgomery has worn
Right.
that defensive line down. I don't mind giving Braylon Allen the first two touches and giving Brees the last one or two. So they got to figure that out, man. And I feel like we got something going to waste when we definitely could be moving the chains a little bit better on first down. That's really been our Achilles heel, getting yards on first down and making sure that we can get a short second down, a short third down, rather than facing 3rd and 8, 3rd and 11, second and 9, So I feel like, man, we're there. We're on the cusp. You give this team, another week to put this together, and I think they're gonna cook, man. They got the sauce, man. So hopefully DJ Reed is healthy. I don't know what that situation is gonna be like coming back, but
Yeah.
we're getting thin back there in the secondary. So hopefully that hamstring is not, or the groin or whatever he did is not serious because we need him on the other side of the ball for sure.
Yeah, nah, DJ Reed right now, I think, is the number one cornerback in football. He's been playing like it. I would like him to be on the field as much as possible moving forward. But I think Jesse makes a very good point too, man, in terms of how the addition of Adams, yes, he's another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, but it's another guy who demands respect defensively too. Like you're talking about the inability to you got to pick your poison. You can't double team both Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams, and if you choose to do that, that means you're leaving your box a little bit freaking less lighter for the running game.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
literally, you've got a situation now where it's been Garrett Wilson getting double teamed consistently, right? And then the matchups for one on one have been Lazard and Mike Williams. Now you get freaking Devontae Adams in here. Devontae Adams he destroys man to man coverage. Him and Aaron Rodgers literally have dominated man to man coverage. You're gonna have to go ahead and bring some help. You're gonna have to. And now that means Garrett Wilson gets one on ones, right? Because you want to go ahead and slow down the run. Defenses now are going to have to contribute resources to pick their poison. Listen, today we got to get rid of Devontae Adams. If it's Garrett Wilson that beats us, fine. Or today we got to stop the running game, and hopefully our wide receivers can hang with the freaking our cornerbacks can hang with the wide receivers. Like that's the scenario you've now created for your offense. And if anyone's going to take advantage of that, you've got to believe it's Aaron Rodgers. Being able to see the mismatches, of course, being able to look at it at the line of scrimmage and call where he wants to go with the ball is only going to be something that benefits us in terms of making this offense run. And if you've looked at these games, man, Aaron Rodgers has gotten better each week. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Minnesota Vikings game, that the three interceptions skew the numbers and it looks horrible. But in terms of moving the ball, making some tough throws, getting like he's gotten better each week. And the Vikings defense at the time was the number one defense in football. All right.
yeah,
I don't see a situation or a scenario where the Jets don't get it figured out. I just don't know if they figure it out this week or if it's going to be 3, 4 weeks from now. And at that point, it's too late. I think the biggest component of making sure we get to the postseason is gonna start this week, man. I believe playing the Steelers. Like
You got to
I
play
was
the
talking about,
Steelers.
yeah, I was talking about a must win against the Bills last night, but that was for the AFC East. Now we're at a must win if we want to go ahead and be in contention for the playoffs. Playing a team like the Steelers, right? Somebody where the tiebreaker might come in handy down the road. So Dano says, I feel 20% better about the Pittsburgh Steelers game now. I just hope Adams is a full go. And damn, did I need a little snack to make me feel better about going? This qualifies, I'll take it. So, in case nobody knew, I'm going to be at the Pittsburgh Steelers game. Me and Dano already chopped it up. We got a couple of guys. I think Dan Murphy's going to be there as well. A few of us are going to be at the Steelers Jets game this weekend. And I'm not gonna lie to you, after last night, I kind of sat there and I'm like, man, I'm paying to go to see this. And I was really down thinking to myself, they're gonna eat us alive. But now I feel better. I do feel better. And I'm also hearing that Russell Wilson might be getting his first start of the season. I like that a lot more than having to face off against Justin Fields. So for me, the season starts this week. The road to the wild card for me is this week. The potential to still win the division. I mean, again, you're feeling confident about it, and I want to be there. I just think I'm still a little hurt from last night. I don't know if I'm ready to take that leap yet, man. But hey, listen, I'm back on the train of the Jets can go ahead and still get to the playoffs now. Last night, bro, I literally looked at mock drafts last night. I looked at top 10 picks uh, last night because I was that salty about what I had witnessed. But yeah, man,
Jeez.
listen, the Devonte Adams edition. I think as Jets fans, we need to be ecstatic about it. Um, do you think he takes Corley's jersey, or do you think Corley uh, holds on to it and then Adams has to take on a different jersey?
I think I think that's an easy decision.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Corley's probably already come up off that jersey today in practice. I
think
saw
so.
Davante Adams flaunt the new cleats too with the 17 on the side. Now I don't know if that's him just doing that because if he can't get the number, he'll put it on his shoe, or if he's going to be able to go ahead and grab it from him. But I would assume he's probably going to pay him for it or something like that. I tweeted something I think I was funny earlier where he he just rolls up and he takes the jersey off of Devon of Malachi Corley. But nah, I think it'll be more of a professional swapping. But I mean, I do wonder what does this mean for Mike Williams? And I know you said earlier you think he's gone. So, and Mike Williams, in case anybody didn't see it right, people are saying Aaron Rodgers is blaming throwing people under the bus. That's not what happened. I think when we talk about the team taking accountability, which is what this whole new mantra is supposed to be, accountability, accountability. When Rodgers was asked a question at the podium, what happened there, he kind of broke it down simply. They asked the reporter said, "Hey, well, could you elaborate?" So he elaborated. Listen, I was expecting him to run the red line on the outside. He cut it in. I had to adjust, and that's not throwing Mike Williams under the bus. That's answering your question. Listen, I expected him to be there. He wasn't. He was on the inside. So that's what happened, right? People are saying like he's throwing Williams under the bus. He ran the wrong route. If he ran the wrong route, then he ran the wrong route. What's crazy is other analysts that jumped on there talked about the spacing between him and Alan Lazard, and that yes, he should have been 5 yards closer to the outside perimeter. So it wasn't as if like it would have gotten called out anyway by these individuals who are going to run the tape. But how do you feel about Mike Williams, man? Do you see him staying on the team? Would you rather he get traded, or could he benefit? You know what I'm saying, assisting this team get to the promised land.
Man, I know this is football, but to use the analogy, he probably got a pink slip in his locker right now. Well, you got to think, right? In the Minnesota game, he ran the wrong route and Aaron Rodgers got picked off,
Yep.
right? I think he was supposed to run it in, ended up running it out. DB stepped right in front of it, you know, got it picked off. So, I mean, I just don't think there's any trust there. And I think that's something that there's no time to build on that right now because he's not the go-to guy.
Right.
The Jets kind of eased them in for whatever that situation was where they didn't want to just give him 100% green light to play for the injury that he was coming off of. So that was a little weird in the beginning. He didn't play. I don't think he played at all first, maybe even second game, and then he started to get sprinkled in
Right.
here and there. So I don't know, man. I just don't see him as something that, to be honest, I thought he was going to be mixed up in the Adams trade. I thought if anybody or we had to give
Same here.
anything up, I thought he was going to be, he was going to be mixed in somehow. But I mean, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. Right now, I mean, we got enough weapons that we really don't need them. If we want to keep him around, and he wants to learn or whatever it is that he's falling short of learning the playbook, again, these receivers, it just seems like with Rodgers and the way he plays, Rodgers has a way of just putting the ball in certain areas that these receivers who are seasoned they know where they're supposed to be if they have to be somewhere where they have to run off of what the route is. And I just don't think somebody like Mike Williams, I really don't think there's going to be a spot for him anywhere on this roster probably come the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it's crazy to say this, but I'd have to agree, right? I was extremely ecstatic about the signing. We knew he was coming in with the ACL. It was going to take a little while for him to get going. But you're right, man. That's back-to-back weeks now where the first week, Rogers kind of, yeah, I got to do better. I play better. That's below my standard. He didn't really point it out. But again, anybody who breaks down tape was saying, like, well, why did he do this? And rather than do it, like, people were questioning the route that was ran.
Yep.
And then last night, then when he's asking to listen, I was expecting freaking the red line. Not what I got. So which is why I had to adjust, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Yep.
and then anybody who watches that play says like, yeah, look at the separation between him and Lazar. Like there should be that 5 yards of separation to the outside perimeter. So it goes to show that sometimes you look at it, right? Like I'm looking at it, I thought to myself, like, man, Rogers underthrew that. I thought he underthrew it. And I was like, no, maybe he was expecting a back shoulder when he slipped. I was way off. He had to adjust that throw midway. Now, I will say this. I went back and I watched the tape today. There was a minute and 49 seconds left on the clock, and there was a wide open Brees Hall in front of Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
right in the middle, like
Yeah.
wide open. Brees Hall was right there. Easy first down. You know what I'm saying? He's
Mm-hmm.
not, he
Mm-hmm.
moved the chains. And so I looked at it again, then went back and watched him explaining why he did it. I think that was Aaron Rodgers feeling like he had to do too much. I think Aaron Rodgers did not want to put it in the leg of Greg the leg again. He thought he had an opportunity when he saw freaking the Alan Lazard pull two additional defenders. He thought, you know
Yeah.
what, we got to go win this game now. I can't trust Greg the leg. And when you have Aaron Rodgers having to force it like that, I think that's why the miscommunication happens because again, him and Williams were not on the same page. But he saw Lazard pull two guys and thought, "Oh heck yeah, at least we can go ahead and get down to the 20, if not score." And I think that's why he bypassed Brees Hall because Brees Hall was right in front of him. Brees Hall was right in
Yeah.
front of him, open. Could have been an easy first down, maybe another 10 yards after that too. But
Look at it
he
like
he
this. Look at it like this though. Maybe I'm giving Rodgers a little bit too much credit, but if he doesn't slip, the ball was in the only place it could have been for him to be able to make a play on it.
that's facts.
And
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, man. I mean, that was a magnificent interception. I ain't gonna take nothing away from
it
that
was.
play.
It was.
That was just crazy. But
That was
um,
insane.
he put it where it needed to be. Williams did what he had to do, turned, tried to come back to it because there's nowhere else the ball could have went, for him to be able to make a play. So he gave him a chance, just turning, slipping, and that field, we all know what that field is like over there.
Yeah,
He just didn't get his footing, but I firmly believe he stays on his feet. He comes back to it, a yard and a half. He makes that catch. You know what I mean? And now we're having a different conversation about how the Jets came back and won the game. So, put it like this, man. In sports, I'm a firm believer, right? Is you got to work out the kinks in the beginning of the season, right? Because you can
you
have a
have to.
monster beginning of the season,
Yeah,
then playoffs come, and then you just shit the bed. But if they can start getting it together, this is the time, right? And then they can catch that head of steam, and then they can get rolling. Then I'd rather start getting hot towards the end of the season, knowing that we're
100%.
in the playoffs, rather than starting out like the Vikings, and then next thing you know, they're nowhere to be found. So.
Look, I I had to get brought back down to earth, man. One of the articles that I wrote earlier in the season spoke about, you know what I'm saying, the Aaron Rodgers effect. It's a blueprint that's been followed by the Broncos with Peyton Manning and with the Buccaneers with freaking Tom Brady. And uh I got reminded that the year that Tom Brady took the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl, they didn't win their division. They got in
Hmm.
on a wild card and got hot in the freaking with fall and winter, and it took them all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And he was my man was just like, "You wrote about this, so you already know." And I'm like, "Nah, you're right. You're right. I did. You know what? You're right. I got to get my mind right." So there's so many avenues to this, man, and again, it's rough because we've witnessed this, we've seen this play out so often as Jets fans that I think we become conditioned. I call it PTJD, post traumatic Jets disorder, that everything's going to go wrong. Everything's going to go wrong because we've seen this story before. But the fact of the matter is, we do have a better team. We do have a quarterback that this is the abnormality. This is the not the norm, not the norm for him to be losing like this. It's abnormal. You got playmakers on both sides of the ball. Yes, we had an elite special teams. Hopefully, they get their head out of their ass and they start freaking acting like it. The defense, as much as we're talking about like they're not great, that they're not elite, they're still a top three unit in the NFL right now. So it's one of those things where the panic has set in because it's us, man. We're Jets fans. This is all we know is constant pain and suffering. And when we start feeling it and we're seeing it, we're like, ah, man, okay, this feels familiar. This feels just like last year. This feels just like the last several years. But the difference is we've got competent quarterback back there that can go ahead and win games for us. There is talent on this roster. This offensive line is better. Tyron Smith is not playing like he's better, but it is better. Like at some point or another, it's got to click. Again, I think it has to be this week. I think last night we saw the offense come alive a little bit. They're close, but like you said, right? 5 days to prepare, and they looked that good. The offense took that kind of a jump in 5 days. Just think about that. That was the best offense we've seen from the New York Jets in a couple of years now. And
Yeah.
it took 5 days for us to go ahead and see that change. So I'm with you, man. Listen,
And it was simple.
it's
The offense wasn't anything crazy. It was simple.
no,
They
no,
didn't do anything, they didn't do anything crazy. Granted, I don't like getting our only, I don't like getting a touchdown off of Hail Mary, you know what I mean? Because it's not necessarily a play
yeah,
to drive
not
down the field
sustainable.
and
Yeah,
score. But I mean, I really feel like that opening drive to go all the way down the field and then come away only with three, was a little bit disappointing.
very.
um, and there was a couple of times, when Greg missed that field goal, you drive all the way down the field, you put him in a good position to just go ahead, tie the game up, take the lead. That's 6 points right there, right? We lose by three, but we're looking at 6 points that were left out there on the table. That's a whole different ball game. So, it is what it is, man. I feel like we've never had a team this good, and who knows what the future holds, but I feel like Davante coming to the Jets as Jets fans shows that this team might be gearing up to build for the next couple of years, and it's going to be okay, what happens after Rodgers? Because, that's one of those. Does he come back next year? Does he not? Personally, I would like to see a quarterback back there that has a little bit of legs and can move around a little bit,
Damn here.
extend the play. We look like a
Mhm.
totally different offense. You know what I mean? But we got what we got right now. We're running with a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Davante coming, is one of those where, you know, he's looking at where am I going to stamp and solidify, what I'm going to do for the rest of my career. Um, so it was a strategic move for him, but I also think that this team is good enough that when they really do find that next quarterback, um, you know, it might not be this year, might not be next year, but I think our time is coming, and it's right around the corner.
Hey man, the words of Jake Asman, man, from your lips to God's ears, bro. I just we've we're overdue. I really believe we're overdue as a fan base, man. And personally, I'm just ready. I'm just ready to start seeing to reap the fruits of the labor. The heartache we've had to deal with. This fan base is too passionate, man, too loyal to be going through this yet again. I'm
Yeah.
hoping to just give us a playoffs this year. I am. But the thing is, I think there's some good bones in this roster. A lot of people talk about like blow it all up, start over again, trade Sauce, trade. Like, what are we talking about? These are
Oh,
young,
I don't know.
these are young foundation pieces. You want to trade away to draft new young foundation? This makes no sense. But
No
again,
way.
it's just fandom, bro. Like, no, I kid you not, bro. Last night, I mean, I'm thinking mock draft. I'm thinking like, all right, either a quarterback or another edge. Like, we need to figure that part out. Man, we need to go ahead and trade Sauce, trade Garrett. We need to get as much picks as possible. For what? To get dudes as good as those guys? What are we doing?
Yeah.
They're young foundational pieces. Like, you keep those guys, you build around them, and the Jets got some pieces, man. They got some real pieces.
Listen,
Um,
Greeny was all excited. You know, he felt like it was breathing new life into the Jets. He
yep,
thinks we're going to go on probably like a 6 game run. But I can tell you, you know, people got to realize, you know, Aaron Rodgers wasn't there last year. The way that whole thing ended, you know, it's a different quarterback back there. You know, I'm pretty sure there's some things going through his head when that pocket is breaking down and collapsing. But at the end of the day, you know, we got what we got, and there's nobody better that we can go and get. So we got to use what we have. And Rodgers is, you know, he's a guy that can make plays, make throws. That boy can still zip it. I mean, you can see it.
right. Yeah,
So, you know, we just gotta simplify it, dumb it down, get the ball out of his hands quick. Don't let him sit back there in the pocket too long. Run the ball. Shit that sounds really, really easy to do, you know, that'll make his life a lot easier rather than him feeling like he has to go and win the whole game by himself, you know. And that's kind of what I felt with that last drive, you know. And again, you know, this is his fifth or sixth game, you know, with almost like within what, 2 years, pretty much.
yeah, yeah.
So, you know, when it starts to click, and if we get that coming in towards the back half of this season, you know, I mean, there might be some miracles being made.
Hey, again, man, your lips to God's ears, bro. Listen, hey, that's the show, everybody.
Yeah.
Hour in, Davante Adams is a Jet. We got the Steelers this week, man. I know we're down, understandably so, but you know, this roster is really, really talented. Again, it don't matter until you start seeing it happen on Sundays, man. But this roster is really, really talented. I think it's the best roster in the AFC East. Can the freaking Bills stumble a little bit? Maybe, who knows? But I know for a fact right now, the Jets need to go ahead and take care of business at home when it matters most, which is when the games are supposed to win. And the next couple of games right now are winnable. The next 12 games are winnable, if you ask me. They're very winnable games. So go Jets, man. Go Jets. Marcus, you want to go ahead and tell people where they can go ahead and find you, bro?
Oh man, well, I definitely want to start getting my little podcast thing started again. I used to run a podcast before COVID and everything, so I was kind of like one of the first guys doing that way back when. I'm just trying to get a room set up and a room ready because I definitely want to go ahead and talk Jets. Gunny, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here, man, and chop it up with you. So stuff like this is fun. As long as I got the time to do it, man, I'm always down. But you know. They ain't nowhere to find me yet, but I will be able to be found pretty soon.
Hey, look, man. Listen, this was awesome. We've been talking about doing this for a little while now, man. But time
For
has
sure.
been an issue and all that good stuff. So I'm glad you were able to make some time for me. Literally about like half an hour ago, I was just like, you know what? There's no way I'm not getting on tonight. I had canceled the show originally because I was going to be out of town. Let me go ahead and see if Marcus is going to be down to do a show real quick. And you said, yeah, let's do it. I was like, hell yeah. So here we are, man. Again, that's episode 28 of the Hangar Hangout, man. Damn, I've been doing this for that's awesome. 28. Um, just got Davante Adams. I don't know why you wouldn't be happy about that. Personally, I am. Marcus is. He thinks we're going to win the AFC
Yeah.
East still. I think we're going to go ahead and make it to the wild card.
Welcome to the Gunny
Either
Gunny
way,
Show.
the Jets are back, man. They brought us back in.